So how do you make kick drums? I know I recently published a video on Audija's KickDrum plugin, so today I want to go over how you can actually use it to make kick drums, because in that video I went over all of the features. So in this video I want to just show you how to make a kick drum. So I'm going to start off by creating a MIDI track here, and we're just going to load the plugin. All its very basics, it will open up like this. What I like to do is, as you can see, I like to make the interface very large, so that we have as much space as possible to work in, and immediately it's going to open up a kick that isn't really what we're after. If you remember the other video, you can press right here to listen to your kick drum, and you can hear that the kick isn't really what we expect from a standard sidetrance kick. It lacks a lot of the punch and a lot of the weight that we usually hear in a sidetrance kick, so we're going to change that. Let's start by removing some of the points here, like this and like that. And what I'll do is I'll quickly set this to 8th notes, and now we have something that's already a lot better. Get a nice strong attack, we get a nice strong body to it, and we get a lot of weight in the sub-frequencies as well, but it's still not exactly what we want in terms of tonality, so I add one extra point. And the interesting thing that we can do over here is we can set these ratios over here. So this is kind of the curvature, and that means that we have an extra point to kind of control where the punch curvature ends. One of the things I do like to do for my kick drums though is set this a little bit earlier, so that what we have is that the kick in the last half of its playthrough is going to be in pitch. In this case, we can change the pitch over here. We can go maybe up a little bit, depending on what we need. But what we essentially want for good phase alignment with this kick drum is for this last bit to be in the key of our bass line. So let's say that we're making a track in A sharp, which we are currently working in. What I can do is I can set this to A sharp somewhere over here. I was looking at the other thing over here because this is highlighted. I did at the end of the other video talk a little bit about the interface and how I didn't like it. There were some people pointing out that you can turn off these tags over here, which is nice because then you don't have all of these things showing up in here. And you can turn off the waveform as well. I also believe that in the EQ over here, yes, you can remove the EQ if you're not using it. You can just look at the audio signal itself. But this also means that the EQ isn't applied. So if you turn the EQ back on, you're actually going to have a different waveform than you would have with the EQ turned off. Anyway, already like this, with the waveform like this and it not filled in, it is much better to look at. Another thing that somebody told me is that dragging and right-clicking anywhere on the main area, that will zoom in your window. So as you can see, I can actually zoom in and out now, and it will actually snap back if I let it go. Unless I zoom in, then you can keep it that way. So you can just, in order to zoom in, you do it like this, and if you want to zoom out, you just drag up really fast and then let go, and it will snap back to the original size of the kick. If you remember the last video, what I was trying to do is I was trying to click here. This is actually very nice, the way that it zooms. It's just not very intuitive. Anyway, let's get back to our kick design. We have a very nice shape to it and a very nice tone to it. And this is all just done purely on ear. We'll get into the technical bits now, where we need to actually make the adjustments for the kick to work in the track and to work in the mix that you're going to have. Of course, we don't really have a mix here, so it's not going to be like the final judgment. This is just going to be me pretending to kind of have a final mix and go over a checklist of all of the things that I would do in order to make sure that the kick actually works in the track. So first of all, I'm just going to listen to the tonality of the kick. Do I like it with the bass line? And right now it's a little bit too zappy for me. So what I want to do is I actually want to extend this quite a lot so we get an even zappier sound. You can really hear that zoom, which is of course what it is. It's a sine wave going down, but usually that speed of it going down is so fast that we don't really get like a slash to it. It's just like a single click to it. And that is what we want to achieve. So let's use that zoom in feature that we talked about before. And let's just make this transient a lot sharper over here. Now we get a nice click. Can lower this a bit. Lower this a bit. We get snappier still. And now zooming out, we get something like this. We can try changing the body as well a little bit, making that a little bit lower. That's maybe a bit too low. But that's nice. The next thing that we need to determine is the starting frequency. As you can see right now it's set to A10, which is 30,000 kilohertz. We don't really need it that high, plus there's going to be stuff in between here that we want to have on its own. Mainly that is going to be the hats and the percussions that are going to sit on top of your kick drum in the high energy sections of your sidetrance tracks. So what we want to do is we want to lower this probably to around like 10K, maybe 8K-ish. And now you can hear we don't get that nasty high click to it. So this is annoying, but whereas we set it to maybe 8K over here, we get a much nicer, much gentler click to it. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to EQ this. Now, of course, you would EQ the kick in an actual mixdown with the context of the track. You would have all of the things playing and you would make judgments on what you think is best sounding. In this case, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to set up an EQ shape over here. And the reason why I wanted to do that is I again want to highlight the feature that this particular EQ has, in that it doesn't change the phase over here. So you can make EQing style adjustments that just impact the amplitude here. It will just recalculate the kick drum, recalculate the waveform that it needs without any of the phase shift of an actual EQ. And that means that if you've already set up your phase alignment with your bassline, this EQing that you're doing over here does not actually change any of the phase alignment that you have to do. And you don't have to go back into your bassline and redo the phase alignment, which with a normal EQ you should probably do if you start to EQ your kick drum heavily. Speaking about phase aligning, I'm probably no longer going to phase line my bassline to the kick, but the other way around. Because what we can do is we can just phase line it over here. Let me actually turn this waveform back on because it's easier to see that way. You can see that moving this around moves where this crossover is, which basically changes the phase of the end of the kick over here. And I said this in the last video as well, this plugin is made in such a way that it starts generating the kick drum at the end, meaning that all of the pitch changes that we did to the transient didn't actually mess up any of the stuff that we have over here, because this node is over here. So this node over here has actually two jobs. It is both there to prevent any of this stuff, any of the changes that you made over here, to bleed into this part over here, causing any issues in phase alignment. And it is here to keep the last half of the kick into the key so that you can actually phase align it to the bass, which also needs to be in the same key. So now this is what we have. This will be our final kick drum. I have a very similar sounding kick drum over here as well. This one has a slightly different texture to it. And we also have the synth and the bassline that we had in the last video. And what we can do is we can just compare two different kick drums over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this in between here. And I'm all going to consolidate it actually. That's probably better. And I can just click over here and Control 0 this. We have a fairly aggressive kick and a little bit of a softer one, but with a stronger click. I do think I like the second one that we made today a little bit more. Of course, if you want to experiment more with it, you can copy over to the beef version over here and then you can make changes to it. Maybe you want a little bit of a stronger punch here. You can see exactly how you want to shape the kick and make changes to it. And again, the thing that I want to highlight is by changing this over here, you can see that the rest of the kick doesn't change. So the phase alignment that we may have set up in this particular case, obviously we didn't do phase alignment right now, but if you did do phase alignment, the phase alignment that you set up with your bassline is not going to be altered in any way. And that is really where the power of this particular plugin is going to come in. So that's going to be the video for today. This was just a little bit of a quicker one. I just wanted to show you how you can actually make kick drums with the plugin. If you want to get a full overview of its features and everything that it can do, make sure you check out the other video that I did on this plugin, but that one did massively well, so I assume that you've already seen it. Maybe a video you haven't seen is the one that is up on the screen right now. There should actually be two videos. One is my latest tutorial, the other one is recommended to you by YouTube. So just pick one of them and continue watching, but that's going to be it for today. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye bye.